Great to be with you.
Yeah, I just gave Ken's son a job, so he's really nice to me today.
Yeah, a lot of sucking up went into that one. Alex, 10 years, 10-year anniversary for you and Mike. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Just to set some context, give everybody a sense of the size of the Faherty business today, volume, stores, where you are.
Yeah, so it's been 10 years, so it's been a journey. The business has, I would say, really hit an inflection point since COVID. So I think we're about 6 times the size we were before COVID. So the business is north of 200 million top line.
And you're in 55, 56 stores?
Yeah, about that.
Wholesale is a part of your business.
Always, since the beginning. I love it.
So this is a little bit different because many brands today that are D2C are now going to wholesale, being another channel. But yet you started your business around wholesale and then really evolved D2C. Where do you see the balance of your business in terms of looking at the % contribution of wholesale to online to stores? Where is it today and where do you see it going?
Yeah, so today it is about 25% of our business is what we would call wholesale. So that's true wholesale where it's sold through another retailer. And that ratio feels good, although I would happy to see that grow a little bit as well, because I do think it's a great way to get Faherty in front of new customers, especially as we start thinking about new forms of wholesale distribution. Like there's the typical fashion brand, here's the retailers you sell to, and I think we're starting to find some other avenues that are interesting, whether that's resorts or that's the outdoor market, where we're seeing some success as well.
Are you carving out space with wholesale partners, or is this more that your product is found within the store, in the men's area, or do you have actually a shop?
So that's totally now evolving. So our business in wholesale in the beginning was very much specialty store driven. So mom and pop store in city across the country, which we found is our best way to really get our brand out there, because big department stores, like they're not innovating on new brands very well. And we didn't have a ton of success there. So our first shop and shop was actually in Memphis, Tennessee, in a store called Oak, which is a great family-owned specialty store. And then fast forward 10 years later, we finally have our first Bloomingdale shop and shop. We opened up 2 of them last week, actually, and those are our first 2 department store shop and shops.
And how big would those be compared to your stores?
So our average store now is about 2,000 square feet, and that Bloomingdale space is about 500 square feet.
And just to put in context, I assume, at least from what I recall, that to open your own store, from time you start building it out to the time you open, could take 10 to 15 weeks, in that range.
Yeah.
How long does it take to do a shop and shop with a partner?
Now that we did the one, it takes like 3 weeks to a month.
So speed to market, product out there, and certainly capital expense efficient.
Totally.
From the perspective of profitability, when you look at the different channels you have, how does wholesale compare to your own store versus online?
So I think the age-old question is, how do you allocate marketing expense? So I think wholesale from a gross margin perspective is a lower gross margin, obviously, but when you think about the operating expenses that are associated with it, it's a very profitable channel for us. And when we think about the marketing dynamics of wholesale, is getting the product in people's hands, it's a win-win. I freaking love wholesale, and I've loved it since the beginning. And I remember in 2017, 18, when all the venture capitalists were like, wholesale's stupid. I was like, you're stupid. It's amazing. Because it really got us off the ground. Like we didn't take venture capital money. So when we were just starting to get off the ground, it was like, how do you get the product out in the world? Like, we met this buyer who's a buyer at Fred Siegel in Santa Monica. And I remember we had a first little shop and shop there too. Like being in those stores back in like 2014, 15, 16, like it really meant something. And like, I hope that these stores that really matter, these curated stores, like hopefully they can keep making a resurgence because they're awesome.
Shifting to the design process, you and Mike founded the company. Mike had been working Ralph Lauren for a number of years, so he's bringing that Ralph Lauren DNA. What's your involvement with the design process? How deep do you go? Or are you getting involved with the merchandising, the buying, the visual presentation? What do you do relative to design?
So in the beginning, I did nothing. I had no idea. at all what I was doing. So it was like, that was 2013. And you know, over time, I start realizing like, okay, where can I add value into the whole system? And then there's like word merchandising. It's like, well, it's the science of numbers and art, and you put that together to make decisions. So I would say I've sort of merchandising and planning has become an area that I've spent a lot of time in. And then I think what also has been really helpful is I am someone who learns being with the customer, like in the store. So whether that's like in our retail stores, every Friday is my retail store day. And then Saturdays I try and spend a couple hours too. Is like, that's where I learned so much about what customers want, what are they looking at, why didn't they like that, what are our allocation issues as far as depth. So I'm like an in the weeds type of person, but not necessarily in the weeds in spreadsheets anymore, but in the weeds, like on the floor, in the stock room. Like our store teams will tell you, like first thing I do is like, I say hi to everyone, what's up, high fives, and then I go in the stock room and I'm like, what are the issues? Like, where's the XLs? Like, and that's just, you know, I think when you're a numbers person, and then you start realizing you actually love clothes and you love selling a product to someone, that it's actually been like a perfect marriage of like my really neurotic number loving, whether I had an eBay business selling things in college to now selling my brand, it's been perfect.
So you're like Rain Man.
I'm with numbers. I have a photographic memory, so like I can tell you so many weird statistics if you want to know about Faherty.
That's awesome. So you talk about going out into the stores. You know, I notice on your LinkedIn posts, there are a lot of posts of you, whether it's in stores, in the warehouse, around people. And one thing I recall from my time working with companies, and I don't remember who I can attribute the quote to, but people don't quit companies, they quit their boss. What do you think about that, and how does that influence the way you work with people to build community at Faherty?
I mean, that's true, for sure. I'd say for me is, you know, I went through this evolution building this business where the first 7 years were really freaking hard. Like, it was survival. You had to figure out how to win. You were always running out of money. And then I think I hit this inflection point once, especially once we started scaling retail, where I was like, what do I really love about this business? And I love that it's such a people-centric business. I think specifically the retail business. I'd say one of the reasons we've gotten into retail with 55 stores and growing is because I love that physical connection, and I also love building these teams and people who really can build careers at Faherty has been really helpful. So I think the relationships that I've made with people personally, whether that's taking them to dinner or to Knicks games, like those people tend to stick around and end up becoming the leaders for whether we open up a new store in a new market. People are relocating because they want to try another market or they want to become area leaders. And like that evolution, we're at that cool phase now where you experience that in your own career. It's just fun to see these opportunities that we're giving people.
You mentioned when we were talking earlier in the week that you headed out to your new store in Southampton on Thursday night, took the team out for dinner, and then went home following dinner. I mean, it's like 6 hours in a car. It must be very motivating to see, certainly for a team that just opened up a store, to have the CEO come out, press the flesh, have a drink, or Coca-Cola, I'm sure, and then head back. That's just an amazing thing to do, and I'm sure that really endears people to you, to the team, to the brand. So
yeah, it doesn't hurt that it was Southampton.
Thanks for the invite. I was out there, by the way. As far as recruiting talent goes, how involved do you get at the CEO level, finding talent, interviewing talent? Who do you meet with at what level?
So I would say I interview, I guess vice president, director, manager. So I probably interview or involved in the process for still like 50% to 60% of the people we hire. And not so much because I want to be the decision maker, but more I want to be someone that like I can be the salesman for the job. So it's pretty competitive out there finding talent. So I usually think of my interview as like how can I like put enough tidbits that this person's like, I want to work here, so I can make the chances of landing that candidate more.
Do you ever bring Mike in on that process?
No, I let him design. It's like, Mike, you go design, I'll take care of all this stuff, and I got you.
Let's shift to technology. Building a new company today, in many ways, I think is probably easier than running an older company, because older companies are caught up in legacy systems. You've created your own stack. You and I have had a number of conversations around different platforms with whom I work, invest in, et cetera. Talk to us a little bit about your stack, what you're using, and then also what you're adding on or what you seeing is helping you grow this business.
Yeah, for sure. So we were, I think, customer 1,000 of Shopify in 2013. So Shopify's been at the kind of the nucleus of everything that we're doing from an e-commerce perspective. So I've been able to see that platform grow. We've been in it since the beginning. So Shopify was first, and then over time, we've thought about how do we manage our sales channels the best way possible. So we're now on New Store for our omni-channel POS. We're on New Order, which is owned by Lightspeed, for our wholesale. And then we sort of have add-ons to it. Like one of the things I've really enjoyed doing is like product innovation is like a big part of what we do. Sustainability is a big part of what we do, and how we've been able to merge those two together. We work with a software called Maker Sites, which has been super cool. The team really loves using it.
Great platform.
It's a great platform. And we work with a company called Measured for all of our marketing analytics. So I think what we've decided to do is like be really agile, rent everything, and then sort of piece all the best-in-class systems together. And then last year we went through a NetSuite ERP implementation to kind of connect that all together.
That was easy, right?
That's like the hard part. So it's the individual pieces that get really good at what they're doing can all connect to Shopify and their systems. It's when you sort of have one centralized ERP that's been the hardest part of what we've been trying to do. But we're learning and we're figuring out. I think the one thing we're trying to do is like, I tell the team this, like we may have gone through this hard, really shady implementation of NetSuite, but that may not be the best system for us. Like, is there something better? Like, so we're constantly always, because once you've started a company from scratch, you realize that nothing's that hard. So I think we're always pushing the team to like, what's next, what's better, what's newer, so we can keep refining what we're doing.
Would it be fair to say, if you were to give advice to companies that are growing today, buy it, don't build it?
I call it rent it, but yeah, buy it.
Rent it.
For a short period of time as possible, and know that you always have flexibility versus building it. Because even now that we've introduced some enterprise systems like New Store or NetSuite, now just like the developer manpower that you need to connect all the systems, it makes it a lot harder. And so I think there's like some ease on the side of, okay, all these systems are going to talk, but now we're starting to realize actually the carrying costs of these more like enterprise big system software systems, there's no joke.
One thing that's happening out there today, big movement around shoppable video, shoppable live stream. Is that something that you're looking at? I mean, I could see you and Mike kind of having a presentation off who could sell more on their shoppable video. Would you outsell Mike or would he outsell you?
He'd outsell me. He's the ultimate Faherty seller, yeah. When it comes to like, he's just good at, he makes the close. So like he knows how to talk about him way better than I do.
Shoppable video or live stream, something on the horizon for you?
I would say we haven't sort of formalized it into a specific platform outside of TikTok and Instagram. So we do a lot of it on TikTok and Instagram, as far as we have this series called Behind the Scenes that Mike does, where every season he'll introduce a new product to be like, this is why I like it, this is why you should buy it. And then you can kind of shop it right there in the video. So that's what we're doing. We haven't gone beyond the social platforms yet, but I'm sure it's in the future.
Cool. Talk to us about marketing. Marketing's gotten a lot tougher. It's gotten a lot more expensive. What are some marketing programs or things you're doing with marketing today that have been really successful?
So new stuff that we've been really leaning into and that we've seen a lot of success with is streaming TV. So I think having we have commercials now running on most of your streaming platforms, because I think we're like who our customer is, where do they watch TV. It's like so easy to target the right customer via streaming platforms. I think it's been fun for us to like get into video a little bit and get into commercials. Like we did this 10-year anniversary video that we've been playing, and it's been super cool just to I guess ego, like see friends like, oh, I saw your TV commercial. Like they think it's so cool that we're on TV, even though I know it doesn't cost that much. So I'm like, okay, that means it's good marketing if they think it costs a lot and I know it didn't cost that much. And then we've always been a fan too of like old school guerrilla marketing. So that's always been a big part of our business. So we have a music series called Sun Sessions, where we do concerts across the country at our different stores or in different venues. And this year we're like a headline sponsor for the Newport Folk Festival, and we're doing a whole activation there. So kind of like incorporating ourselves into music and some events. But we've always done a catalog. in 2015, 2 years after starting, we did our first catalog because I remember being like, there's no catalogs in my mailbox. Why? Because everyone had pulled back from catalogs. So we did catalogs, and we still do them, but obviously the mailbox has gotten a lot busier. So we've pulled back on that, and I think we're always constantly pulling in, pulling back. But in the end of the day, it comes down to like, how do you create a brand, where people are talking about you. And honestly, right now, what we found is scaling our physical retail has been such a huge component of marketing and getting new eyeballs and new people connected to the brand.
So it's fun to watch you guys grow, both online stores. One thing I did forget to ask you, are you using AI anywhere, or how is that figuring into your current process or near-term future?
So the most immediate thing that we are like in the final stages of launching is, it's like, what are the different avenues where AI works into the business? And actually, the Business of Fashion had a good little case study that they released this morning, and it was good because it connected some of the things we're thinking about. So obviously, like on the copywriting side, there's things we're doing there. So as far as just like, you got to churn out copy, there's a lot of good technology that's happening there. I think the other thing is customer service. So, chat is such an important, having the ability to have chat on your website, I think is so important. It's just so people intensive. And so we've been working with a company called AirKit on building out our chat bots, for lack of a better word. And I think that's going to be a huge unlock because people want to know shit right away. Like they want an answer right away.
Right away.
And when you can't do that, one, it makes the phones busier, and obviously everyone knows the phone's not efficient. So chatbot and getting chat really, really good with AI is definitely our main first focus.
You start to think about growth. Where's international on your priority list? How do you deal with abroad? Are you doing business internationally today?
So we're doing business internationally today through a few retailers. So, we've been on the Net-a-Porter, Mr. Porter platform for years selling internationally. But besides that, we haven't really had our international launch or, we've just been busy focusing on the States. But what we did do was we're like, we got to try one country that I think is sweet, that fits really well with the brand is Australia. So we just launched in Australia last month. So we have like our own Faherty website in Oz, and we're launching in retail this year as well. So Australia was like, it's English, the brand resonates well there. We've always had a decent e-commerce business there in our clunky, horrible way we were doing it before. But international is going to be a big part of the brand in the future. We're just sort of taking baby steps. I mean, I'm only 40 and I want to do this for the next, however many years I can do this. So we got time, but I'm excited about it.
So it's interesting with Australia, you can either test product early because of the reverse seasonality, or you can push excess inventory later.
Yeah.
Because of reverse seasonality.
It works. Yeah, it definitely works. There's always inventory, as you know, in this business. Like there's always something.
Always something in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And then as far as Europe goes or Asia, where would that be in your growth trajectory?
Europe, I would say Europe is next, and then Asia's after that.
All right, we'll go offline on Europe. I've got some ideas for you there. One thing, could we just show a slide for a second? I don't know if it pops up here. Is that up here, the slide?
Of my face?
No, it's not your face. It's the slide of, hello, I was told, there it is. So this is a picture of the stockroom in Southampton. And my son shared this with me because he was so proud of what he did this weekend in the store. So a couple things. One, thank you for getting him the job. Number two, this now absolutely guaranteed he will never fold a shirt, a pant, or anything ever again at home. Not that he was before, but now at least I know he can do it. So thank you for the training.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's weird. We're like not anal people, but when you get into retail, folding has become the thing that we just are, it's very important.
Well, I'm glad he's working. Thank you. Last question for you. 3 key things that you're maniacally focused on as you move forward with growth.
All right, so number one, hands down, is product innovation. So I think that what I've learned in the last few years is when we haven't innovated a product, it can fall off a cliff fast. So I think the amount of competition that's happening, and if you don't innovate a product categories, and sort of always thinking futuristically, like what is my customer going to need? How are things are evolving? And I think like our relevant example is, as Scott said, like 5 years ago, the New York Times or Fort called us a surf hippie brand. And like today we're a lot different than that. And like one of our best selling items is like a casual knit blazer. So like evolving to where the customer is going is super, super important. I'd say the second thing is, which I think everyone who's been in retail a long time realizes, it took me 10 years to realize it, is the importance of inventory and how that fits into your whole financials in a way that I think when we were in big growth mode for so many years, you didn't really notice it. And I think now as we get bigger and you realize like percentages actually make a huge difference, that'd be number two. And I'd say number three is just like waking up every day and trying new things. And I think specifically from the brand side is like, there's no playbook. Don't look at your competition. Just like go for it and try big things.
Awesome. Alex, always a pleasure. Thank you.